Aloha, my friends and family. I am so blessed to be here in this beautiful mountaintop. And today, I've got a painfully obvious video for you again. To the controllers, reality is whatever you can get away with. Yeah, it's similar to being an artist of life in reverse if you're a vampire or sucker. Did you know, if you haven't seen me say it in other videos, or listened to other videos where I said it, every religion is like Osho. They mix it in. They'll never admit it. Very few of them will ever admit that they do that. They all have. And so, to the controllers, this beautiful sacred planet, these amazing, beautiful bodies can be turned into a luge farm if they can get away with it. Because to the controllers, reality is whatever you can get away with. This is what they actually think is real. In the Matrix, the laws are for the poor, not the wealthy. Obviously, the mandates were for the normies and the goyim. And shoot, the governor of a certain state I was living in never locked down his restaurants. Imagine that. To be that overt about it and still be in the governor's office now. I had to get my little dollar store jewelry, my little dollar store magic wand. So since the beginning, the false self disposing junior gods, the gods who had to dispose of us if they can and use us as energy, use us as batteries, and then throw us away and recycle us. They set up the secret societies and the religions and later the governments. They were all set up in the last million years in the image of Lucifer 4. Creating the massive industrial inversions we must now contend with. And if we don't, then what do you think is going to happen? Psychopathic killers were promoted in the Matrix, The more narcissistic, the more criminally minded a person is, We're at the age of, as I've said before, post-apocalypse, post-disclosure, barely. So you can just say the truth. All this stuff is known, but you see, we're so, as a species, the humans have become so trauma bonded to their masters over over a million years of the shit. So, lies were promoted. The truth was buried, burned, and held back. Lies were promoted and grown in rituals. black magic, mind control, and all the other horrible things, horrific things that go along with that, and petri dishes. And they, the SDC was a little sprinkle of each in a petri dish. The spiritual moron losers behind the machine were the winners of history. Wonder why that is. I mean, there's a lot of credence to the loose farm, to the prison planet, the hell realm theory. However, like I say, this place was repurposed. So, everyone knows the so-called winners are the people that were willing to do the most killing, in some cases, wrote the history books, and having stolen, plundered, coerced, tortured, subtly and explicitly, grossly breaking the main rule of non-interference of free will on this planet. In other words, every single war, probably, every single war, your manifest destiny, your doctrine of discovery, all these concepts that caused the financial wage slavery that the Western states, especially here, are in now, all comes from the same source, man. These beings, they said, we're your God, and you've got to kill for us, and this is ours, whereas they really are our crooked uncle or whatever. So, or depending on who you are exactly, you could be in the Anunnaki blood. So over and over and over, for over 1 million years, our species' free will was abducted, taken away for lifetimes, or just more commonly turned into financial chains. Control of nearly all and everything by the cube tech, and the Archon could even inspire me to throw my cell phone in the hot bath of the hot spring, but it survived, but not the speaker. But it's amazing, the amount of power the Archons can get if we're not being really present and really respectful and really positive or paying good attention to all that we're doing. The successful imposition of a hell realm, loose farm, soul-sucking, memory wipe, plain net took a lot of work. I mean, you think about the amount of work it took to take something as beautiful as this mountain and this planet and this round globe and turn it into what it is now. It took a lot of work. In the beginning, it was beautiful, the Tartaria before the mud floods. And this is a fascinating new part of history research I've just recently gotten into, that there was this beautiful civilization called Tartaria that they destroyed with mud floods, and that they used sacred geometry in the buildings like the Basilica, St. Peter's Basilica, to generate electricity through these temples. So basically they had free energy, they had 0-point tech. So that's why, another reason why I'm interested in that. But it took a lot of work, it took a lot of building and all that. But most of what people call reality was built, was mostly torture based. It was built on threat, it was built on killing, on torture, on if you don't convert to Catholicism, then this is ours, or and we'll kill you or whatever. And so that started it. So it's really, like I say in my last video, it's really healing to take a vision quest somewhere outside of the matrix for even 3 hours if you can. A real creator that is really divine would have none of this shite of torture-based reality that we see now. These gods that demand their followers kill these other people, that live in the same part of the globe as them, because maybe it's another Anunnaki god, or it's the same god that needs the loosh. So he designed the religions to get them to kill each other, so to generate more loosh. The whole thing is so overt, but it's so sad that they don't notice it. It's one of the sickest black magicians ever, Aleister Crowley, in his satanic Bible said, do as thou wilt is the letter of the law, or basically you could do whatever you want. But this is such an idiotic thing that only a Satanist or a Luciferian would come up with, that it doesn't matter, you can do anything you want. But, because You see, because they put all that machinery in the planet Saturn, and perhaps before, it's at one point Saturn was an actual organic planet, and then there was the real law of karma. But see, they perverted it in their mind. They think they can get away with anything, you see? And so it's due to this sick, inverted, selfish, narcissistic, Luciferian thinking. I can do anything I want, but when you harm someone else, it always comes back. It doesn't just bounce away. Like, Lucifer's so morally retarded. To believe this, they have to be close-hearted. They have to be really have no moral discernment. Basically, those beings that think they run the world, they have amazing technology and amazing organizational capability, but most of them are morally retarded. They can't really understand how to have any respect for themselves, even. So it's very sad, very sick and inverted and sad. And as the church fathers back in the day wrote their sick, tyrannical, satanic codes of exoteric inversions for the masses, like the Council of Nicaea, like I've mentioned before, having stolen, plundered, coerced, tortured, and subtly and explicitly, grossly breaking the main rule of non-interference. I mean, really, Yeshua was teaching us how to have respect, how to have peace, how to not believe in the bullshit. But no, they had to turn that into this fucking, we're going to kill everyone and take their land shit. I mean, within what? It only took them less than 1,000 years after they wrote that doctrine. So, to build the energy to that much killing spree in the name of something that's supposedly peaceful, supposedly good, and still goes to this day, endless war. The thing growing up Presbyterian that's really disturbed me. A lot of Sundays I wouldn't sing it, but they'd always sing, "Glory be to the Father," and then at the end of the song it would go, "As it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, worlds without end." And it was almost like a loose extraction song, like giving praises to extracting our energy forever to build the world, and the world will never end, the world of slavery that'll never end. Aren't we such good, humble servants? The devil whispered in the ears. The devil whispered in these so-called kings and government leaders' ears. Reality is really what you can get away with. And they thought that was real. They thought it was either their own voice, like the archonically, or the person high on the scale of NPD is archonically possessed, or they thought they knew it was Lucifer or the devil, but they agreed. They fell, literally. So this spiritually pathetic flip on the law of free will is how the deep state, or the dark side, I put DS, either way you want to spell it, this is how the secret world still runs a lot of the world into the ground, with no morality at the top. Where does humanity go with no morality at the top? Rapidly into further layers of vampiric Ouroboros oblivion. Now, as Trump and Musk and Kennedy, someone from one of the 13 bloodline families that, revolted against their master and started trying to tell everyone the truth. And so are they really going to make America healthy again and help everyone and be respectful? We'll see, I find often that the zodiac sign Gemini is, he's a master at talking out of both sides of his mouth, and to attempt, like the Libra often would attempt to make peace with everyone, to a flaw even, because they want to just get along. They're air signs, they want to get along. And but then, being in those positions, it's of course going to be some puppetry involved every time. When is it not? Since they killed his uncle there, I mean, it's not going to be a chance of, someone that really, I mean, as much as they signed the files to the release files, I mean, who knows? We'll see. It's maybe there's more of this Chinese water torture drip style disclosure, but we'll see what they do. But they really want to. They want to. The dark side really wants to throw us back into the black hole of Abaddon of oblivion soon. That's what they want. Sucking. So. The Matrix is made of black magic secrets. The Age of Aquarius. In the Age of Aquarius, there are no secrets anymore. Okay? So, the World Economic Forum boy toy Yuval Harari publicly said in one of his talks that there's an old-fashioned myth that humans have a soul or a spirit, and but we can hack it out, or we can program it differently. Obviously, this was a sick example of how Passio says the black witches think humans are just programmable, or he still believes that. So again, that kind of corroborates the Keith the Meat Puppet's idea that he's a little bit of a controlled opposition, that because he gaslights, yells at people and says they're immoral, like an old preacher. He's also vegan, so. But he says that he thinks that and the black witches think that humans are just programmable fleshy computer sacks. Thus, after we greedily accepted the humans 1.5 plan, text next hex, and just, I see the hot 20-year-old girl with 4 chins like she was 80. We get addicted. They knew we'd get addicted. They used the blue light. Oh, yeah. So, thus, after we greedily accepted the humans 1.5 plan of cell phone bots enforced, the humans, they ripped out the payphones for one thing, and almost everywhere. The humans 2.0 experiment, as rolled out 5 years ago, nothing reveals. Nothing reveals the mob psychosis, the moral imbecility of the self-imposed false self world controllers than the heavily orchestrated events we saw rapidly roll out. The attempted forced mass formation psychosis and attempted creation of the transhumanism RC plans, the revelation of the method, Event 201, for example, show just how cocksure and dumb the fake gods really are, at least when it comes to self-respect and free will. They don't even grant it to themselves. All they think about is, how can we get all the energy and stay in power? How can we keep stealing? How can we keep the matrix going? A parasite just wants to eat. They don't think about anything else but eating. And someone that, or beings that created NPD, he needs to find blood now. What free will does a vampire have? He needs to find blood now. That's what he's thinking. He can't think about, my cattle, I've got to let my cattle have free will. It's like, you are a source of blood. You are a source of loose when unaware. There is no morality in Abrahamic religions or modern governments at the core. It's not. They want you to be moral. Yeah. I'm going to teach you to be moral, but by threat of violence, by threat of eternal punishment. Like burning in a fire forever when you don't even have a physical body. I mean, think about how overtly and obviously of a cosmic level black magic scam that really is. I mean, you don't even have a body, or maybe if you do, it's 3 atoms, according to Benjamin Cream's theory, which I think may be correct until we go to Nirvana. You have these 3 cells, or atoms, one that's in your solar plexus, one in your heart, and in your third eye, your magic pineal gland, and it stores everything you ever said or did, the Akashic, everything you ever said or did. Then when you're ready to completely enlighten, you could you could fly away. And so maybe that's what escaping the matrix is actually you taking these three and you don't let them electrocute you. You don't let them memory wipe you, It's maintaining you. The thing is that this is why everyone that believes in the soul trap theory does, or the soul trick, is because it is a horrific thing to have an old soul and know that everything you learn, unless you're some enlightened master and you can fly back past these fuckers, and unless you have the self-love, courage, discipline, discernment, and willpower, sheer willpower to not go into the tunnel, to not go through the shit again, to go into the darkness of the void and not even know where you're going and go somewhere or will yourself home to your divine mother. Unless you have the willpower, they're going to force you back, and it's going to be all robots. Then it's going to be worse, so less free will the next time. So it's not a threat. It's just obviously what happens. So, let's see, maybe you can take these 3 cells on and just until you're really ready to go into nirvana, or in other words, to not have any more, just completely extinguish your ego forever. Like, you don't have anything more to learn. See, the thing is, I think they coerce us here with our habits, our addictions, and lessons we need to learn, the things we refuse to learn. So, but if you're willing to learn everything now, hey, or most of it, that's the only way, that's one of the keys to the thing, to getting out of here. So obviously in the religions and the governments, the narrative is going to be endless lies and misnomers or half-truths. Endless jihad is only in existence for losers, because war is for people who want to die or kill, and thus, you want to have a ghost following you around, or be miserable, or have PTSD the rest of your life, or the politicians, or the people who run the wars, the ETs, the Archons, the Zeta Grays, the reptilians, or whoever's in behind it, all those that feed off the negativity and the bad energy, they're losers or losers. They steal. They're here to create, generate all this horrible energy, and that's what they want. So they want it. So there is no such thing as religious or rather spiritual war. If you have awareness, you don't want to fight someone, but it's through the unawareness of dogma. Where did that dogma come from? Well, on both accounts, obviously the Anunnaki gods that designed their religion. So it's a horrible trauma bond. Then we have it on a much grander scale on financial slavery, or existence mode, beast mode, and all that. It's so easy to get caught in because they try to force that on you if you don't have a community. So, or you're wealthy or specialized. So, it's a big club and you ain't in it, George Carlin said. On the other hand, it does matter how hard you work alone. How hard you work toward your goal of freedom, or your goal of awakening or ascension or expansion, or whatever we want to call it, that you learn. If you want to get out of the matrix, or you want to live out your dream here, or whatever it is, without getting harmed and tricked, it takes a lot of serious discernment and meditation to not be taken by the Archons. It's just, they're just really good at their filthy tricks, man. They've dialed this in a long million years. So it doesn't matter how hard on the other hand, it doesn't matter how hard you work alone, like I've done. If you're not supportive of the fake, if you're not going to go with the narrative, if you're not going to do what you're told, you're going to have a lot of time, a lot of duration when you got to do your shadow work by yourself, because people don't like it. The more awake you are, it's harder to find friends, because you realize that you gotta only share this type of information with people appropriately who are ready for the so-called red pill, so to speak. You don't want to dump a pile of shit on their day psychologically or make them feel guilty or whatever. So that's why I'm thankful to YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, and all the other platforms out there that allow people to share the truth or say their piece about some of it or whatever. So Being a good person is being a respectful human. Cow or slave for your lords, human and ET, and never question anything. So, this is what people think. They think if you just do what you're told all the time and then take all the orders and run the wars and pay the rent and the mortgage, property tax, and every day of the week, and then you do that and you're good. That's what people think. But what happens is they extract all your energy, because guess who owns the mortgage company? Guess who you're running the war for? Just don't ever question it. Just keep going. Just keep doing it. It is true on a personal and psychological level. With no morality, you will always be in mental chains. But if you run the government, or if you run certain religions, you can go off and run wars and have all these people killed for your gods, because your gods need a blood sacrifice. How about traditional obedient pedophile politicians, actors, rock stars, and movie stars? Why was Epstein taken out? Keeping child sex secrets was turned into a nearly bottomless keg of bribery, blackmail money. Basically, nearly endless amount. He could get almost as much money as he could ever dream of out of blackmail from all these people that went to the child hooker's fantasy island. So nobody would find out they went to child sex island. Every time someone got caught, like Cosby, they always pretend it was a single sicko. But we know the sexual, mental, and physical adrenochrome addiction are systematically vampiric sucky inversions that way too many humans in power accepted. So there's actually a YouTube video that was really well done, the opposite of my thing, like really brilliant, artistic, at splicing it together and putting the art and the graphics, and it's called The Conspiracy Theory of Everything. And if you watch that, it has actually for 5 seconds in that, he flashes the list. I looked at it. It was trippy, like all the different people from Hollywood and politicians that went over to the island, and it didn't get scrubbed. I mean, I think it's because he so masterfully put it in there for a second, but they always act like it's a single individual, like Diddy or whoever, when they get caught. You go, oh, that's just so weird, atrocious, or whatever. But you know why? Like I say, that the only reason why we didn't have a bunch of these people die in January is because they got the call, like Shel Silverstein. They got the call, you better not go home today. If morality is cosmic law and there are no longer secrets, what gives? Why couldn't Reiner Fuellmich do anything to stop the Agenda 2030 plan? And why haven't we heard back from that? Or some people work with him that some young people got accused of embezzlement, and they probably put him in there. They put him in there. Obviously, he got targeted, and he got thrown in jail for something. He didn't even do anything, but it was really because they didn't want him to do it. So to sue them. So, my guess, what do you people think? What do you think? You don't have to be a slave, but if you're not a slave, you must not get caught free. Hey, use this sick idea against them too. If you're not harming anyone else, you can make your own reality inside of your vehicle or your tent, or if you're not going to harm anyone else or yourself. But, the moment you do something to harm another person, you're going to have to pay. And probably, if you harm yourself, you're going to have to pay as well. So, how is their statement, reality is whatever you can get away with, true? Well, like I say, if you're not doing anything to hurt anyone, then I don't know, it might be true in that sense. If you are harmless, you can do anything. You could be an artist and create your whole life. But you see, it's almost impossible. You know, you're going to at least have to steal eggs from a chicken and steal an animal's milk, or, you know, it's very few people can go without a sexual hierogamic, a sexual heterosexual partner, and still be happy. I mean, some people can, but it's not all these people that are now. That was, you see, what Lisa Renee calls sexual misery programming has been so prolific and successful that you see what happened in Japan. Over half the boy men don't even want to reproduce, or they're still virgins their whole life, like over half. If you were harmless, you can do anything, but you know, there's some limits. If you're not willing to stand up for yourself, if you're not willing to stand up to your fears of the opposite gender, for example, like, you know, look at me. I mean, I'm still here, you know, but like, it's, you know, doing that shadow work. It takes a while to really heal and clear it all out, and the physical cleaning work, of course. But you really can do anything you want if you're not going to harm yourself or others. If you know how to be respectful, you know, you can get away with a lot of good stuff. Once again, flip the script. See the truth. The more evil acts you seem to get away with, the more the spoils of the killing sprees and plunders of war you receive, the more responsibility you've been given by your slave masters to suck and vampirize others, especially legally, if you do it legally. The more mentally trapped, trauma bonded, Stockholm syndromed, full of shit and traumatized you'll be. So it's plain to see the false self-imposed controllers have no real authority. As Lucifer 4 is an absolute imbecile when it comes to respect for life. And after, you know, as brilliant as he is at all the cons and, you know, all the dark arts and all that shit, all the turning humans into idiots and all that, as great of a job as he did with all that, he's still a moral retard. He still says, I can't be any better than I am because I am your creator, when actually, you know, you're just some I don't know what you want to call it, usurper, you know. And so it was really skillful and talented at their usurping skills. So, and after 1,000,000 years of his schemes, you see the results. See no evil, hear no evil, smell no evil, speak no evil. There's no such thing as evil. You know, ACIM is right, man. Evil doesn't exist. It's all a schizophrenic's nightmare scheme to get some attention. Because he was lonely. He made it all up. The whole world is a nice place. There's no such thing as a weather weapon. It's all made up. We've been so dumbed down. Satanism is good. I mean, as Lisa Renee said about that as well, you've seen it mainstream. We've seen it. I mean, Tucker Carlson had this guy on that said, I have a after school for open to all second graders in the Chicago school district twice a month, and he had a Baphomet statue with him, and he said, we talk about how to be a nice, morally respectful Satanist, and I teach them. Satanism is cool. How much blood does a person have to drink to think they have the right to take an entire country, continent, or planet? How bad does this have to get before we stand up to this force garbage dump junked planet sicko plans? And of course, I'm referring to geoengineering in that statement. How bad? How many more towns have to be decimated with these weather weapons? Do we need kid gloves here? You know, because BG is such a sensitive, possessed little child psychologically, to get them, you know? Or should we do a campaign, you know, encouraging Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and the Make America Healthy campaign, Make America Healthy Again campaign, to include cleaning up the skies by banning geoengineering in all 50 states like they did in Tennessee and New Hampshire. And of course, since unlike them, they'll have the money to have a few airplane pilots who are also police to get rid of, to charge them $1 million fine or whatever, and get rid of it. And then we won't have to have anything like Asheville happen again. You know, it'll help a lot with stuff like Lahaina, all that. We'll see a different world. If they do that, then we'll really see our health improve, because geoengineering really screws up a lot of health of not only humans, plants, animals, and trees. Do we really need kid gloves here, or do humans have the courage for a future? We must not be afraid. That is the bedrock for all of this trash. That's right. Someone who was so afraid they couldn't pay their mortgage or their rent unless they take a paycheck to dump fucking chemicals. Learn the truth and get free. Learn the truth and get free from the soul trap. But only if you have serious discipline and discernment. Otherwise, it ain't going to happen. You must be a master of your own mind and flesh suit. You must choose peace whenever possible, or else you will flunk that day again. The Archon will use you as a snack again. A good artist can literally create a beautiful world all around their immediate vicinity. You know, their yard, their house. And an Illuminati member or a narcissist can terrify everyone into behaving in a soulless way around them. You know, their yard, their house. And they can publish books reiterating, by 2030 you'll own nothing and be happy. The WEF had to take that off their website because they got so much shit for it. And then the founder just, you know, got fired by his own organization for being so obvious with his plant, probably. USA has an Aquarius in its moon sign of its USA zodiac birth chart, July 4, 1776. What does that mean? Well, Aquarius, you know, it represents the people, the numbers, the gadgets, the heart, the humanity. It's humanitarian. And so in a way, Trump is bringing a flair. The Maha is a humanitarian flair to it. But also, it was started by these deists and Freemasons, and you know, or maybe they're Rosicrucians, and so, you know, it's always been mixed in with these secret ruler groups, which I'm from myself. So, you know, Jesus Christ or Yeshua said, you know, when two or more are gathered in my name, I'm there. Well, obviously the Dark Lords, for, you know, hundreds of thousands of years before he got here, they were using that to their favor, you know, to turn us into the slaves more, to make us more afraid, to trauma bond us, terrify us more, you know. So that saying was used against us even before the church inverted his teachings, you know, with the Council of Nicaea. They can create the woke past tense, because Lucifer, the word the devil is lived backwards. They can only live backwards, you know, vampirically backwards. They can create a fake alive movement. Whatever loser for, it's really sad. I mean, you think about how much talent they have, but they just use it to harm. Whatever loser for or the demiurge makes can only be a soulless bad copy. Learn the truth. The Creator really is within us all. However, if you still think there are no natural laws, as a idiotic nihilist, for example, no matter how powerfully orchestrated and financially lubricated you are, you're going back to the black hole. That's right. You're not going to make it too far because it's different. The karma boomerang of Aquarius. Karma is for the slaves. The rules can flip it. Yeah, right. Only in a fake hell realm would people think, just because they announce their plan to take over everything 6 months ahead or whatever, that it makes it okay. In the real original and future reality, the expansion of learning, growth, love, discernment, and respect for life will expand. And you will feel that this planet has gone back to its original purpose of being a divine healing place and eternal school where you can go, multiversity, where you can open 24/7 with free everything, free energy, where souls go to expand, to learn. There's no memory wipe. We either, the only ultimatum that I really think anyone should ever give in the future is, to the beings who brought the moon here, if you don't take it back to where you're from, we'll just blow it up, because we don't need a memory wipe station. We don't need, I'm just saying, that'll probably be at least decades in the future, because the whole thing is, then our tides won't be violent. It'll be interesting, Growth, love, discernment, and respect for life will grow, and awareness will expand. It can be very blissful and fun. If huge clubs of wealthy white-collar derelicts obeying their master can invert the world's reality to be whatever they can get away with, humanity is doomed. At least it was in those eras. Too bad for them. You can't get away with anything, as the Capricorn sun sign Jordan Maxwell says. You don't get away with nothing. You can't get away with anything evil. Causality cannot be subverted. A certain person got a divorce after they tried to lock down and force everyone on the planet to take their experiment. Causality cannot be subverted by those scumbags when humans are discerning. We don't need a master if humans know how to take care of their own needs and they're peaceful and respectful. They don't need a god, a billionaire, an enslaver. But they have to know their rights. They have to know the law, the natural law, and try to figure out, like I'm doing here, like if I stay here for 2 weeks, it's legal or whatever, do it in some way if and when they can, so that it brings peace to them, that they can be in peace. Because it's important that while you're in a flesh suit, you can be at peace. And, if you can learn to lucid dream or remote view, then you'll be way more ready when you leave. You see, but if you never are at peace while you're alive, if you're always worried, and how are you going to be ready to ever get out of this forced slavery system that goes on forever? It'll take a lot of healing for a lot of us here. And if you enjoyed this, make sure, if you haven't already, click on subscribe and notification bell, and follow me on Odyssey or Rumble for even more bloody red pill. And if you have a courage, folks, as always, of course, create a great day around you. Make it a beautiful reality as much as you can get away with it when you're in your private space. Use these tools to bring awareness and truth, not horrible disgrace. Loving you, folks.